Today we're going to talk about sex determination and sex-linked traits. And just to do a little bit of review before we go into some of these types of Punnett squares, I just want to review some basic gender or sex determination. So if you look at the top of the page here, something to keep in mind is that when we talk about chromosomes, remember that your chromosomes occur in pairs, and that as humans you have 46 total chromosomes, but in pairs that means there's 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes total. The first 22 pairs of chromosomes are called autosomes because they don't determine your gender. And then that last pair of chromosomes are your sex chromosomes. They determine if you're going to be a boy or a girl. And also keep in mind that males are XY and females are XX. And that determines, again, what gender you're going to be. So if we look at the gametes that a mother and father can produce, we take a look at the father first. And the father, as we just said, is XY, and the female is XX. So when the father goes through meiosis and makes the sperm, he's either going to have an X sperm or a Y sperm. And the mother's, it just doesn't matter. She's always going to have an X sperm egg. So when we look at the sex of the baby, we have the father that can donate either an X sperm or Y sperm, and we have the mother that doesn't matter, her eggs are all X. And so we look at who determines the gender of the child, it's going to be, of course, the male. Because if the father donates an X sperm, it's going to be a female. Either way, the mom is donating the X, so if the father donates his X sperm, it's going to be a female. If the father donates the Y sperm, then you have a male. So when we look at sex determination or sex-linked traits, this Punnett square that you see in your notes here, this is the base Punnett square that you will always have. You will always have this setup, and when we do these types of Punnett square problems, what the issue is, because these types of traits are sex-linked, they're going to be linked to the X chromosome, which we'll get to in a minute. So just keep in mind that Punnett square we have up on the board, that is the base Punnett square that we're going to be working with. So you should have, whenever we do the sex-linked trait problems, you should have at least that Punnett square drawn out. And that'll make a little more sense as we go through it. But what I'd like you to do is pause the presentation and go ahead and go through these questions. I think based on what we just covered, you should be able to answer these basic 12 questions. If you have any questions with any of them, just circle them and either ask the sub or ask me. So I've erased the board, and I'm going to go down and explain what sex-linked traits are. So go ahead and scroll to down to this page, and looking at the top here, sex-linked traits are just traits that are present in sex chromosomes, specifically the X chromosome. Now the Y chromosome does have traits on it, but these are specific traits that are only found on the X chromosome. And remember, because females have 2 X's and males only have 1 X, males and females are going to be affected just a little differently in this type of situation. Some human traits that are sex-linked are hemophilia, which is a blood clotting disorder. You don't have any ability to stop bleeding, so if you get a cut, that's really bad. You can't stop the bleeding. If you get a bruise is just internal bleeding. So if you knock your leg on the side of the desk and you get a bruise, that means you're bleeding inside, and your body has no way of stopping it. So theoretically, you could bleed to death just by knocking up against the side of a desk. Male pattern baldness. Yeah, that's a sex-linked trait. And of course, color blindness. And again, we look at these traits and what we see is that men are affected much more than females. That's why we call it male pattern baldness. Does that mean that females don't go bald? No, that doesn't. It just means that men are more likely to have that baldness gene than females. Same with color blindness. More men are colorblind than females. It's a sex-linked trait. And the reason is, again, and you'll see when we start going through the problems, is that men only have one X chromosome. So they either have the disorder or they don't. Females, because of the two X chromosomes, um, they're less likely to receive this disorder. So here are the three traits that we're going to be talking about. Color blindness. Color blindness is a recessive trait. Hemophilia, that's another recessive trait. And male pattern baldness is another recessive trait. So we're still going to use capital and lowercase letters to sort of symbolize or express these traits. We're just going to attach those uppercase and lowercase letters to the X chromosomes now. So we have big N for normal and little n for colorblind. Same thing with hemophilia and male pattern baldness. We'll just stick with N's at this time just to make it a little easier on you. So let's go through these answer choices. I'll scroll down just a little bit. We'll do 1 through 10 together. So a normal color vision male or female. So the first thing you need to do when you're writing these genotypes are to write the XX. You know it's a female, so it's XX. Now the second thing is that you need to decide what type of X's are they going to be. Are they going to be a big N or a little n? And now we have the word normal, so we know at least this first X is a big N. Right? If she's normal, it doesn't really matter what the second X is. She could be X big N, X big N. That's normal. She would be normal. Or she could be heterozygous for this trait, X big N, X little n. Either way, she's still normal because the N is dominant to the capital N is dominant to lowercase n. Right? Either way, she'd be normal. Number two, a normal vision female, but a carrier. You have a normal vision, or you have a female. She's normal because one of her X's has a big N, but she's a carrier. So that just means that she's heterozygous. She's normal, but she can pass that trait along to her offspring. Men, of course, are a little different. Okay, so let's go to number 3 and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But number 3, a colorblind female. So write your X's, you have a female, and now she's colorblind. So the only way for her to have this trait is for both her X's to have the lowercase n. It's the only way to have that recessive trait. So what you see here in questions 1, 2, and 3 are that for females, there's 3 different possibilities that a female can have. She can be homozygous and normal. She can be heterozygous and normal. She'll still be a carrier, but she's still normal. And so for females, the only way to get the disorder is for her to be homozygous recessive. So there's 3 possible scenarios for a female. Males, because there's only one X chromosome, it's, again, a little different. So a normal number 4, a normal color vision male is XY because he's male. And it's normal, so X big N, Y. If it's a colorblind male, X, Y, because it's a male, and little n. So for men, they either have it or they don't. It's pretty basic. 50-50 chance you're going to have this disorder. So let's do the rest of these. A bald male, it's a male, so it's XY. And it's bald, and that's recessive, so X little n Y. Normal male is X big N Y. It's normal. Male, big N. A hemophiliac female. You know it's female, so it should be an X and X. And the only way to have the hemophiliac trait is for both X's to be lowercase. A normal female, let's just say she's XX, and we'll say X big N, X big N. She's normal. A hemophiliac male, XY is male, and since he's normal, since he's hemophiliac,
it's little n. Then you have a normal male, XY, because it's a male, and normal means X big N Y. So again, we're just dealing with X's and Y's, determining the gender, and we're linking that to the X chromosome. So let's do a Punnett square, so you can do the rest of these by yourself. So a homozygous normal female marries a colorblind male. They want to know what their children could be like. Please help them. So let's do the parents first. Right? We know that there's going to be a male and there's going to be a female. So that's the first step. And if you don't get the genotypes right, just like any other Punnett square problems, all your results are going to be affected by that. So we have the male and the female. They're going to have kids, and we want to know what are the chances of them having a colorblind or normal child. So it says a homozygous normal female. Homozygous meaning the same, normal meaning she has the dominant trait. So both her X's are going to have the big N. For the male, it says the male is colorblind. So is that going to be a big N or little n on his X chromosome? That's right, it's going to be a little n. That's the only way for him to be colorblind. So now that we have the parents' genotypes, we can do the Punnett square. So we'll go all the way over to the Punnett square. Let's put male on the side. Female goes on top of the Punnett square. And now let's start attaching our ends. Mom, both her X's are big N's. Dad, his X is a little n. So we do our Punnett square. First box is going to be a female. Second box will be a female. Third box will be a male. Fourth box will be a male. So really, when you're looking at this, there is always a 50-50 chance that you're going to have a female and a 50-50 chance you're going to have a male. So let's take a look at these traits. In the first box here, Mom donates the big N, Dad donates the little n. So you have a normal female. It's just heterozygous. She's a carrier. The second one, same thing. Mom donates the big N, Dad donates the little n. For the bottom one, Mom donates the big N for the X, and Dad donates the Y. Last one, Mom donates the big N, Dad donates the Y. So the question are, what are the chances of having a colorblind daughter? A colorblind daughter. Well, there's a 50-50 chance with having a daughter. So if she has a daughter, what are the chances that they're going to be colorblind? The answer is 0. If they have a daughter, it will be normal. What are the chances of having a colorblind son? If they have a son, there's not a chance that it will be colorblind. Now, what are the chances of having a normal color vision daughter? 100%. If they have a daughter, she'll be normal. And what are the chances of having a normal color vision son? 100%. All right, so this is how you do a typical Punnett square. Just follow the first page where it shows you which letters are dominant, which are recessive. Again, when we're dealing with these types of traits, we'll just use big N is going to be normal, and little n will be, we'll have that particular trait or disorder, and just attach those letters to the X chromosome. So go ahead and complete the rest of these problems and circle the ones that you have questions about. It doesn't mean don't do them. I want you to try them, but just circle them if you're not quite sure if you have the right answer, and we'll go over them in class. But this is what we're going to be doing Friday, or the next time we meet, depending on when you're listening to this. And make sure to ask questions or circle the questions that you have problems with. So enjoy the rest of the day, and I will see you in class.